Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing all the books that are similar to A Court of Thorns and Roses. So if you are unfamiliar with my channel, I already posted a part 1 of this video where I scoured the internet and found books that were perfect for curing your ACOTAR hangover. This is going to be part 2. I found even more books that were similar thanks to people recommending them to me and doing a little research. So stick around to find out all the other books I think will be perfect for curing your ACOTAR hangover. So let me start by saying I'm going to do this video by giving you a brief synopsis of the book and then why I feel it is similar to A Court of Thorns and Roses. So let's get into the list. The first one is the Tog series, the Throne of Glass series, also by Sarah J. Maas. This follows Celaena Sardothien and her quest to find herself and also save a country that's beloved to her. I am using the most generic phrasing right now because I feel like there's major spoilers in this and I'm trying not to give anything away. But I didn't actually have this book on my first list because I wasn't finished with the Throne of Glass series yet and I wasn't crazy about it in the beginning. So I feel like the first few books are a little, I don't want to say juvenile, they're just definitely young adult compared to ACOTAR. So I really didn't get into the books until I think it's Heir of Fire, the third book, if you're not counting Assassin's Blade, for those of you who read the series. That's when I really started to get hooked with the characters. They seemed to be a lot more complex. There was more relationships going on. And I think that if you're a fan of ACOTAR, you're definitely going to like this. I mean, it is also written by Sarah J. Maas. Pretty much anything Sarah J. Maas writes is amazing, or at least I think so. So definitely check it out if you're a fan. Like I said, it does come across as very, very young adult in the beginning. And I don't know any other way to describe it. It's just a lot of like teenage angst. The main character, the protagonist, Celaena, I did not like her until like 3 books in. And then I was like, oh, okay, I understand why she acts the way she does. So definitely give it a couple books before you pass judgment. But definitely, if you're a fan of ACOTAR, I would definitely check out the Throne of Glass series. And also, obviously, Crescent City. I mentioned that in my last video. The next book on my list is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. So this book follows Lou LeBlanc, and she's a witch, and she ends up, through some interesting circumstances, marrying a witch hunter named Reed Diggory. And they kind of develop this relationship. And Reed is very against witches. He's a witch hunter. So if he finds out that she's a witch, things are going to go down. It was very, very enjoyable. I loved their relationship. I was hooked the entire time. So I found this similar to ACOTAR because it is, first of all, it's young adult, but it definitely skirts the line of new adult. There's not a lot of steamy scenes, but it's just because the characters I feel like were pretty complex, similar to ACOTAR. There's a slow burn romance in this that is absolutely amazing. And it's also enemies to lovers, so it kind of has that Mist and Fury vibe. But I would definitely recommend this. I loved this book. However, I treat it as a standalone because I was not a huge fan of Blood and Honey. I'm sure everyone has like their own opinions, and there's plenty of people out there that love the sequel. I was just not a fan. But if you like ACOTAR, I would definitely give Serpent and Dove a shot. It was a really fun read. Next on my list is a book that I actually haven't heard a lot of people talking about, but I really enjoyed it, and it is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. So this is a Hades and Persephone retelling, which I absolutely adore. And for those of you not familiar with the story, it's Hades takes Persephone to the underworld, and they kind of form this relationship. And it was super enjoyable, very fast-paced. It is an urban fantasy, which was a little jarring when I first started. I'm not a huge fan of urban fantasies, but definitely an addicting read. I loved their enemies. It's not really enemies to lovers, but it was like, there's definitely tension in the beginning of the relationship. He kind of forces her to make a deal where she ends up staying with him in the underworld for a certain amount of time until she can accomplish a goal, and it goes from there. But it was a very steamy read, definitely steamier than Serpent and Dove. So if that is part of the reason why you like ACOTAR, I would definitely check this out. I really enjoyed it. So definitely, if you're a fan, check out A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. Next up, we have The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. So this story follows Laura, who her and her sisters are raised to be assassins by their father. So Ithacana is this ruling kingdom that controls the bridge, which means they control all of the importing and exporting. So Ithacana really is the most powerful of all the countries. Laura's kingdom is not prospering so well, so her father plans to marry one of his daughters off to the king of Ithacana, and that way they can take over the bridge. So Laura is one of his daughters and the lucky one chosen. It is such a gripping story. I flew through this book, full of action. There's also a lot of politics involved, which I really appreciate and wasn't expecting from this. So I will say it is very similar to A Court of Mist and Fury, and there is a town that is very similar to Valaris, which I really appreciated. There's also that slow burn, smoldering romance, and they kind of have to discover each other, the king and Lara. I really enjoyed this. So if you like ACOTAR and you like the politicking that kind of happens in A Court of Wings and Ruin, I think you will enjoy The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. Next up we have A Deal with the Elf King by Elise Kova. This story follows Luella, and she is the human queen. So what that means is every, I think it's 100 years, the Elf King takes this human queen to be his wife, and it kind of creates, or it keeps the harmony between their two worlds going. And she does not want to be the human queen, so she is trying to find a way out of this contract, and they slowly start to develop this relationship of trying to end this forced marriage on both their peoples. So I really enjoyed this. I will say I didn't find it as gripping as ACOTAR, but I think that has a lot to do with the length, and it's a standalone. So it was a very quick read. Instead of fairies, it's elves, but the main elf actually gave me serious Rhysand vibes. He's kind of this brooding character that's a little bit misunderstood. I really enjoyed this. I think that if you're a fan of ACOTAR but don't mind switching from fairies to elves, you will definitely enjoy this. A Deal with the Elf King by Elise Kova. All right, last on my list is a book that I actually am not a huge fan of, and that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling and a portal fantasy, and it is about a king who is cursed, and in order to break the curse, he must have a maiden fall in love with him. And he is able to travel or send someone to travel to our time and capture Harper, bring her back to his time, and they slowly develop a relationship. I didn't love this, and I really can't pinpoint why. It just didn't connect to me for some reason. However, I will say the characters are very similar to the way Sarah J. Maas writes characters. Like, I was very attached to the characters. I thought they were complex and very well-rounded, similar to The Inner Circle. So I think if you enjoy Beauty and the Beast retellings like A Court of Thorns and Roses, and you really enjoy in-depth characters and well-rounded characters, you will definitely like A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. All right, guys, that's the end of my list. Thank you so much for watching. I hope your A Court of Thorns and Roses hangovers aren't too dreadful, and that these books will help alleviate some of it. So if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every Tuesday, and if there are any other books similar to A Court of Thorns and Roses that I have not had on either of my lists, please let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.